Alrighty, so YouTube, we're kind of being hit now this last week over hashtag Obamagate, and probably one of the biggest controversies there can be, right? And how this stuff goes. It's trying to be a distraction, a diversion, and stuff like that. Connect here, and we're going to dig into some of the details as we go along. But we got the Ben Shapiro video here that just came out. I don't know, today or was it late yesterday? Anyways, he's going to cover over this stuff, and we're going to point out the things that he says are wrong.
Let's talk about new revelations in the Michael Flynn case. So there's some new revelations in the Michael Flynn case. Apparently, there's a report that is out about who tried to unmask Michael Flynn's identity during the Russia probe. So here's the way this works. If there is a wiretap that happens of a foreign national, and an American is caught up in that wiretap, that person's name is hidden because you are not allowed to surveil American citizens without an actual FISA warrant. You're not allowed to surveil American citizens without some sort of legal go-ahead. So that person's name is kept confidential and it's kept private unless there's an actual request for unmasking from inside the executive branch. And these are supposed to be rare. They are not supposed to be done unless you actually have true suspicion of criminality.
So that right there is the biggest lie, right? So these are asked all the time if the officials that get these intelligence reports that have the redacted names to provide further context to help them understand this intelligence report better. So the Michael Flynn talking to the Russian ambassador, right? So you get unredacted person. It's like, well, is he talking to just some random businessman friend that he knows in America who has nothing inside there? Or is he talking to someone in the government, in the U.S. government that's promising stuff or anything like that? And so they'll request that the name be unmasked so they can understand, hey, what's the context of this conversation that's going on? It has to have nothing to do with criminality at all. And, he talks about, oh, these are supposed to be really rare. They're not all that rare, especially under the Trump administration. They've gone pretty bonkers with requesting unmasking, right? There was in 2018, there's about 17,000 and change requests for unmasking American citizens in surveillance that were caught up that way when surveilling foreign nationals. In 2019, it was a little over 10,000, which is still higher than Obama's last term, right? There's a couple of terms. I think the one I saw was for like 2016, 2015, 2016 was a little over 9,000 requests for unmasking. Now, just because they request doesn't necessarily mean that they're granted. So everybody that requests this person in this intelligence document that they got be unmasked gets that request, right? It doesn't get answered. And based on the information we have from the intelligence agencies, we don't know if they got it. So anybody listed on this list who requested it may not have even gotten, half of them, more than that. Who knows? Maybe only a handful got it. Right? That's what's being put on here. So he's wrong about it being criminality for.
Well, as it turns out, Susan Rice, who is the national security advisor to President Obama, asked for Michael Flynn to be unmasked so she could see his name. And then that was basically leaked and circulated within the Obama administration. So everybody knew that Michael Flynn had been on the phone with Sergei Kislyak. Now, again, there's nothing illegal about Michael Flynn being on the phone with Sergei Kislyak. Nothing. There's nothing illegal about that. He was the incoming national security advisor on the phone with.
So this idea that it was spread around, we don't have the information to back any of that up, right? All we know is that it was unmasked, and then at some point it got leaked. And a lot of the Obamagate talk is trying to say, well, everybody on this list had it here, and so try to tie anybody on that list is to potential leakers. And one of the lists that asked for it was Biden. Now, we don't know if it was Biden himself or if it was somebody working for Biden's office, because what can happen from time to time is, I would imagine more often than not, especially for someone in Biden's position, is that it's a staffer on his behalf to get it. So they'll get the intelligence report and say that's meant for Biden, and they'll say, all right, this doesn't make any context here. Can we go out and get this unmasked? So it makes more sense. Present it to Biden and stuff. Right, so we don't know any of that situation, what he had, if Biden even got the unmasking request, answered, right? and was given that unredacted document. Yeah. But yeah, so like it is illegal to take this unmasked information and spread it around. That's a felony. And so whoever it is, but the core of Obamagate is trying to pin that on the names that were in this list and trying to make it look like Obama's government was spying on it. It's like, no, all that's here was the Russian ambassador was talking to American whoever that was named U.S. person 1 or something like that. They redact things like, well, who's he talking to here? Is he talking to just like some random friend about these sanctions, or is he talking about someone who might actually be able to do anything about these? Right? So let's unmask and figure out and understand the context better. Yeah. Well, and some of the worst stuff is that the government, the Justice Department, dropped charges against him. Right? I don't know. It doesn't make any sense under any kind of sense of the law that you drop those charges. But then drop those charges and then turn around and release this document, right? It seems pretty politically motivated to help Trump's reelection campaign.
With the Russian ambassador. That is not illegal in any way, shape, or form. The Obama administration decided to circulate Flynn's name specifically to generate all sorts of concern that Flynn was in thrall to the Russians.
So, no, we don't have that information. That's your narrative on top of the stuff we have. It's trying to say it's spread it. Like they were intentionally spreading it around, passed it off. Who was it? Tom Ignatius or whatever, who wrote the Washington Post article. Yeah. There's no controversy on here for the amount of stuff, but it's going to be spun that way. So who knows? Maybe it turns into something like, especially with Joe Biden's name on it, if it turns into like the Hillary's emails and stuff like that. All right, I guess Obamagate. I don't know if this is a troll account or somebody else there that's doing it. We'll see what happens when they say in chat. So just keep a head up, moderators, if he's going to hop in and chat.
Well, now it turns out that a bunch of people in the Obama administration were very, very concerned with Michael Flynn. According to the New York Post, former Vice President Joe Biden and former FBI Director James Comey were among the top officials who tried to unmask Michael Flynn's identity during the Russia probe, according to a report by the acting director of national...
Whoa. This wasn't during the Russia probe, right? Or at least in what we take as the Russia probe is the investigation into Russian interference and stuff like that. Right? This was just, here's an intelligence report. Can we get it unmasked to understand it better?
Intelligence, Richard Grinnell. The bombshell letter, first reported by Fox News on Wednesday afternoon, was sent to Republican senators by Grinnell as they seek to investigate the origins of the FBI's malign probe into Russian interference in the 2016 election. Intelligence chiefs John Brennan and James Clapper were also included on the list of 23 Obama-era officials who allegedly tried to reveal the identity of Flynn during the presidential transition period.
So this is the language here that's being used. I don't know what article he's reading. If it's from the New York Times, the New York Times has an awful history with allowing. I'm implicated in Obamagate, but like I've seen some articles talking about this, like the New York Times, and you look at the writer, and it's like the editor-in-chief for the National Review that's talking about. This isn't a conspiracy theory. This is Obama's been spreading around. So I don't know if he's reading the New York Times article, one of New York Times articles or something like that might have been written by people from like the National Review that are spinning it this way in opinion pieces. That's kind of some of the issues if you're going to cite New York Times articles, or not New York Times. What is it? New York Post. Excuse me. I think the National Review guy does opinion that times as well, but it's the New York Post article I'm thinking of. Oh, it's not a conspiracy. It's not. It's like, all right, who's saying this? Who's making this opinion? Oh, it's the head of the National Review who's trying to spin this narrative in there. Pretty sketchy by the New York Post to let that kind of stuff go through, and just say, "Oh, slapped on an opinion."
Was Obama Chief of Staff Dennis McDonough and former U.S. Ambassador to the UN Samantha Power. 9 names were redacted for apparent national security purposes. Biden's name emerged in connection to the Flynn unmasking a day after he denied any knowledge of the Flynn probe. George Stephanopoulos had asked him, "What did you know about these moves to investigate Flynn? Was there anything improper done?" He said, "I know nothing about these moves to investigate Michael Flynn." Well, weird, because not only were you in a meeting with Barack Obama and members of the DOJ and FBI, where members of the DOJ were shocked to learn that Obama actually knew about the Flynn call, and they were shocked that Obama himself was in the loop. Biden was at that meeting. Now it turns out that Biden was on the list of people asking for the unmasking of Flynn.
So it wasn't asking for the unmask. These are different things that he's conflating together, right? We got to separate out, right? So if you look at that Biden interview, he corrects himself and said, "Yes, I was in a meeting that heard that they're going to do this investigation," right? But Biden being on the list that was asking for an unmasking is just, here's this intelligence report with a name that's redacted, and unmasking it would help us better understand the context of this call that we're surveilling, right? Of foreign agents, right? That's what it is. Now he's conflating that to the investigation into Russia, right? Or the investigation into Michael Flynn. Now, whether or not Biden did or did not, we don't have that information, right? We just know that there was that meeting January 5th, 2017, where the FBI said, "Hey, we're going to investigate Michael Flynn," right? So this unmasking stuff is not related to that stuff there, by there. So it said, "Oh, Biden's on the list that requested an unmasking." It's like, doesn't show what you're trying to say. It shows.
And again, you're only supposed to unmask people when there's actual suspicion of criminal activity. And
lie. Quit spreading that lie, right? The Trump administration, has, if I've roughed the math together over the 3 full years that we have data, is roughly about 37,000, give or take, some change there. Just quick editing, but about 37,000 requests for unmasking Americans. Not all 37,000 that they're asking there. Probably not even, a minor fraction of that is for criminal reasons, right? So he's just lying about the unmasking to push this as, the Obama administration trying to keep Trump out of office.
And when you are trying to hide information from that person because you might suspect that person is going to be a criminal. Rand Paul, senator from Kentucky, he went off on this. He said, "Listen, this is abuse of power," and it is abuse of power.
Vice President Biden and more than a dozen Obama administration officials requested and received the power to unmask General Flynn during his phone call with the Russian ambassador. James Clapper, James Comey, John Brennan, Samantha Powers, and the president's chief of staff all individually asked to unmask General Flynn and to listen to his phone conversation. Intriguingly, a dozen more administration officials all chose to unmask General Flynn.
Now, again, it's okay to unmask somebody for purposes of internal discussion. You can do that.
So, Rand Paul here, so I'll have to go back and look at this, but everything I've seen on this thing here is that we don't know anybody, we have a list of names of people who requested, but we don't know how many of those were granted, right? So, like I said, some of those were probably granted, but not all of them. But like the connection with the Obamagate, which Shapiro's going to do right here, is going to try to implicate them and spreading it around.
What is not okay is that within days, this had been leaked to the Washington Post. That's illegal. Okay, leaking an American citizen's name after unmasking, that's illegal stuff. And when it turns out that everybody, you have to know that the natural consequence of every single person in the Obama administration in a 5-mile radius unmasking a guy, it is very likely that's going to end up with the media. Okay, everybody sort of gets this. Quinn Hillier has a piece over at the Washington Examiner pointing this out.
Citing the Washington Examiner, not something that you want to cite with stuff like this, but we'll go through. Yeah, it's not. It's like completely nonsensical. But yeah, so he's tiny here. So we don't know who in that list received the unredacted intelligence reports with Flynn's name, right? So just because they're on the list doesn't mean that they spread it. Now he's saying, well, you unmask it to all these other people, then it's stuff here, then it eventually will get out. He's going to go list through and try to do a list of. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like I said, the reasons that you would get that okay or have the intelligence agencies unredact that stuff for you. Come to who it might have been just somebody in the intelligence agency, right? Some whistleblower within there that leaked it out, right? When they were unredacting all this stuff to send off to whoever did get the permission to those things, right? And it may not be a directed effort and it's probably not a directed effort as being put forth by people like Shapiro here.
They say that he says people are making too much of the unmasking itself, which could have been entirely justified. But what was almost certainly illegal was the leak to the Washington Post of the information about those unmasked calls.
Yes, it is illegal, right? We know that it's illegal, right? So jumping on it here, but you're making these tenuous connections between, oh, these people requested it, and then, oh, this was an Obama administration thing to try to spread it around and release that and reveal that to the public. Yeah, it's not, right? There's nothing here because they don't know that it's Flynn, right? And they're focused so much on this Flynn call when she's gonna come up in here, but the National Security Advisor for Obama, Susan Rice, her office, so either her herself or staffers or whatever, senior staffers and stuff that they're working under her. I don't know if staff is the right word, but yeah, what I'm saying, worked under her, requested it in her name, about 290 times, things completely unrelated to Russia too, right? That caught up other Trump aides and stuff like that, and they're just focusing on the Flynn thing, like this was a Watergate style. Hey, let's go after this guy. And they didn't know who it was until the unmasking.
And again, should there be a presumption that somebody is going to be leaked if it turns out that everybody inside the Obama administration was requesting the unmasking? At a certain point, does it become a little bit predictable that this thing got leaked to the media? So President Trump went off on Biden. He says, how does Biden know nothing about the unmasking if he's one of the unmaskers? I mean, he literally said he knew nothing about the investigation. He was one of the people requesting the unmasking.
Yes. So let's listen to what he says, and I'll go through even I have to pull up that other clip.
I watched Biden yesterday on Good Morning America being interviewed by one of your colleagues, George Stephanopoulos, and he said he knew nothing about anything. He has no idea. He knows nothing about anything. Nothing at all. And then it gets released today that he was a big unmasker. So how do you know nothing if you're one of the unmaskers? It's one of the very big stories, and I suspect you'll have, if it's possible, even bigger stories coming out.
So Biden was talking about the investigation into Flynn, right? Whether or not he requested a certain redacted name be unmasked to understand an intelligence report doesn't mean he knows about an investigation into Flynn, right? That the FBI is conducting, right? Those things aren't together at all. And just because, I requested for this particular report to be unmasked, and I saw it, and it's like, oh, here's Flynn on this call here. That's about it. That's not Biden saying, hey, let's do an investigation of Flynn. That's not being kept up to date on investigations and anything in that stuff, right? It's just not that case. Yeah. Oh, we don't know where the leaker came. Like I said, it could have been somebody, in the national the security agencies, the intelligence agencies, right, that are responsible of okaying unredacting these names or unmasking these names, right? That leaked it completely apart from anything else. It's like, oh, there's the 23rd time or whatever, and let's say they approved all 23 times that they know. They approved it all here, and the couple of people who would have seen it to unredact it or do all that other stuff and present these intelligence documents, sending them out, is the one that leaked it, right? It's just as viable as that, right? They treat the unmasking as if they knew who it was and say, all right, we want this person unmasked, right? And that's how it works. And it's not how it works.
Fact check true. Fact check true. By the way, I think that the finest moment.
So, no, that's not true. That doesn't say anything about what he knew about the investigation or the things that Flynn did. There was, any of this other stuff in that investigation, right? Just because he requested it. So this is wrong.
here came from a Biden spokesperson. So a Biden spokesperson slammed CBS's Catherine Herridge. Herridge is a reporter on this beat, and she reported about the unmasking. So a Biden spokesperson promptly tweeted out, his name is Andrew Bates, Catherine Herridge is a partisan right-wing hack who's a regular conduit for conservative media manipulation ploys because she agrees to publicize things before contacting the target to ask for comment. Okay, nothing richer than a Biden person attacking members of the media. It's an assault on our free press, institutions. It's just an assault. By the way, I will note that it is pretty astonishing that members of the Obama tribe and the Biden tribe, the political tribe here, that those people are very upset with the media. You don't get to be upset with the media, guys. You leaked this information to the media in.
So, all right. No. This is kind of the hypocrisy stuff here. Like, Ben Shapiro will sit and defend every time Trump goes at, or not every time, but most of the time Trump goes after the media, and it's like, oh, that's fine. The media should be doing this or that and stuff. And it's like, now he's going to try to turn around and be hypocritical about this. And then he's going to say, no, you revealed this, you leaked this, as if it was Biden and those people that did it. Maybe it was. We don't know. We don't have that information, right? This is just you spending it here and basically playing the propaganda arm for Trump.
In the first place. Susan Rice, by the way, was asked for comment on all of the unmasking stories, and she declined. She basically ran away from the reporter.
How do you respond to those who say you abused your power with unmasking 2016?
Excuse me.
I wanted to just ask you about DOJ investigating the origins of the Russia probe. Do you think they'll find anything, any wrongdoing on the part of the Obama administration?
I have no idea what DOJ is doing. Thanks.
Do you have any comment on them exploring the origins of the Russia probe, investigating the investigators? Do you think it's a worthy cause to do that?
I'm not commenting. Thank you.
Okay. So he's going to paint that as a bad thing. You know, say anything there. Like, all right, Ben.
Okay, so that is the way that the Obama administration, those professionals who definitely did not politicize intelligence, but were leaking everything that they could find about the Trump administration out into the public. That just brilliant handling. The Wall Street.
Yeah, you're saying, so you're claiming Susan Rice leaked all this stuff out here with this statement, right? What? Like, what do you have to back that up? Where's your facts, Ben? Like, this is a lot of feelings coming from you.
Journal has a good editorial today about all of this. They say when news stories appeared in early 2017 about Michael Flynn's conversation with Russia's ambassador to the U.S., these columns wondered how Flynn's call was so widely known. The names of private U.S. citizens caught on tape by U.S. intelligence are supposed to be masked so their privacy is protected. Well, now we know. GOP Senators Chuck Grassley and Ron Johnson on Wednesday released a declassified list of Obama administration officials who in their waning days in power unmasked the conversations of Mr. Flynn, who is set to become Trump's national security advisor. It seems everybody but the night janitor wanted to know who Flynn was talking to. A stunning 39 separate...
Hey, they didn't know it was Flynn when they're asking for unmasking. It's redacted. Yeah, I know it is. It's ridiculous here, right? And he's, trying to say here, but this list isn't, this is just people who requested, Ben, right? As far the intelligence agencies have come out and said, representatives said that we don't have who actually got which, got approvals, right? We just track and keep the data for requests. That's all. Now maybe we should keep that data so for who got the unredacted documents, right? That'd be a better safeguard check, and that'd be something that you would take away from this instead of going and say, nope, Obama spying on Trump and he's leaking all this information to the press about Trump and his campaign and all this other stuff. Just saying, well, all right, here's a problem within how we handle the intelligence, right, and stuff like that, and doing all this other stuff and letting this stuff out, that we should be tracking this as well. But he's not going to make that comment. He's not going to make that argument. He's not going to push for that at all. Yeah. Well, I mean, it was declassified by Grinnell so that they could share it around, right? So they Grinnell, the DOJ, I think, is his position. After they dropped charges against Flynn, declassified all this stuff, right? So that what this looks like, right? Putting the pieces together is this is the Trump trying to find dirt to win re-election, right? And if this, and given people like Ben or Crowder or any other in conservative quote unquote news sphere is going to spin this way and kind of be their propaganda arm. Yeah, they're asking. Yeah, they're asking like, "Hey, who's this? U.S. person one or whatever? Is this someone that works that can do this here? Or is this just a businessman friend? They're just talking about some right."
Officials snooped on Flynn's conversations with foreign actors, lodging nearly 50 unmasking demands between November 30th, 2016 and January 12th, 2017. Our sources say the nearly dozen redacted names on the list are likely intelligence types who might have a legit interest. Most of the rest are partisan officials. Flynn was unmasked by at least 4 U.S. ambassadors, 6 Treasury officials, people connected to the Energy and Justice Departments and NATO, then FBI Director James Comey, then CIA Director John Brennan, and then Director of National Intelligence James Clapper also made the list. The Flynn unmasking is important, they say, because it occurred amid a media frenzy over supposed Trump campaign collusion with Russia. There are other dots to connect. Documents released late last week show that former Deputy Attorney General Sally Yates first learned about the Flynn wiretapping from Barack Obama personally in a January 5th, 2017 Oval Office meeting. At least one.
So, this list isn't the people who got it. It's the people who requested. Now, I imagine some of those people got it, right? FBI director and CIA, stuff like that. Probably got, and president and stuff, probably got the unredacted stuff, right, when they requested for it. But this isn't the people that had it here, right? So I think, those secretary, was it 6 from the Treasury? They probably didn't get it, They probably didn't get the unmasking on who the Russian ambassador was talking to. But it inflates the number.
One of the unmaskers must have told Obama. And the question there, again, is not the unmasking. The question is, why was all this being leaked out? And the answer is that our institutions, those same institutions that are now tasked with making decisions about you and your life and your level of freedom, those institutions botched this one beyond botchery. The good news is that so long as they are targeting Trump, they always have the love of the media. So Adam Schiff, who spent 3 years lying that Trump-Russia collusion was going to reveal the seething, festering wound in the body of America's politics. Yesterday, he said it was Bill Barr who was politicizing the DOJ. Bill Barr, it's all Bill Barr's fault for dropping the case against Flynn.
The problem is,
so, I mean, all the reports and stuff point to, Trump should have been impeached. Well, he was impeached, but he should have been removed from office. First thing here, and now they're trying to take this something that's, like a big controversy right now. Unless more stuff comes out that they can, that supports this thing, it doesn't seem likely. I mean, this is pretty stock procedural stuff. This is probably going to remain a controversy, but that's going to be pushed pretty hard in trying to get Trump reelected. Right? So it's right. It looks, like letting Flynn off. Like you've heard the Obama call, whatever that talked about letting Flynn off, right, that released around. It's like, yeah, like where do you let that guy off? That that's what was it, 4 counts of perjury or something like that. And one of the ones that he admitted to, he accepted the guilty plea. Then he argued back here, and then they just dropped the case. It looks fishy, just from everything that we have here. And seeing that Trump did things that should have meant he was removed from office after being impeached, my priors would kind of point to that, yeah, that's probably what it was for, right? Where this is the... Yeah, I know. So it looks political so that they can spread this around, right? Because Flynn wasn't guilty of doing anything wrong, so now it's all on the people who unmasked Flynn. It is a conspiracy to reveal this all to the media to fuck Trump over.
Is that Bill Barr has so politicized the Justice Department, the justice system, that people can't have confidence that a decision like this to release Paul Manafort to do home imprisonment is based on the merits. This system stinks. And that's the result of Bill Barr politicizing the Justice Department. People have lost confidence in its neutrality, that justice is blind. Instead, they think that justice bends to Donald Trump's will. And that's just a tremendous disservice and risk to the rule of law.
I don't want to hear about risks to the rule of law from Adam the Liar Schiff. I want to hear about risks to rule of law from this bag of tools. Thank you.
I mean, what is he lying about, right? Like, I mean, we have those documents, or they've been released and declassified, but yeah, it does it for that one.